civvies and not in his racing suit, so there's nothing he can do about this race.
There you see the running order with 5 laps complete, 50 laps scheduled. Greg Moore with Alex Zanardi just behind him. Zanardi trying to join Nigel Mansell in the IndyCar record books by winning the Drivers' Championship and the rookie title in the same year. Now, how will all these yellow flags to start the race affect our pit stop strategies, Danny?
Well, I think what you'll really find is it'll probably move that lap that they're going to stop on 16 to probably 17, maybe even as far out as 18, 18th lap. But they're still around this place. They're going to have to make 2 stops. What it'll really do is it'll cut out the fact that they'll have to make 3. 2 it'll be. Here's Zanardi making a real bold move right under Greg Moore.
That will put Zanardi up into the 8th spot and demote the Canadian and his runner-up in the rookie championship to 9th. This is through Hurry Downs and then sharply downhill for the left-hander preparing for the carousel.
And this part where they're going into right now, the carousel, is probably the hardest but also the most spectacular. Right there, they're coming out of that corner at 165 to 170 miles an hour. They go up into top gear right about there, right where you see them now, and flat out through that kink if everything's working properly. And that's a real hold your breath corner because it's blind. You can't see where it goes. You know it's flat, but boy, it sure doesn't feel like it when you get there.
Zanardi and Moore up the hill. Quick switchbacks right and left, and then under the bridge over a blind brow. Paul Tracy had that huge qualifying wreck back in 1992. We've seen cars putting wheels off throughout practice and qualifying. Full size lead for Christian Fittipaldi and Mauricio Gugelmin, Michael Andretti, Brian Herta, Bobby Rahal sporting that silver paint job on the nose of his car. Celebrate Miller Motorsports' 25th anniversary in the game. Ride with Bobby Rahal. We'll take a quick timeout and return for more of the Texaco Haviland 200 from Road America in just a moment. Christian Fittipaldi right out front. Back live at Road America. There you see Alex Zanardi about to pass this scene moments ago. Paul Tracy locked up the wheels and skittered off into the gravel trap. Here's another look.
You see him just coming down there on the inside. He's already a little sideways. He tried to get in. It looks like Parker Johnstone there, and he just locked it up. He wasn't even close enough. Lost it. He just spun off. That was just a mistake. Can't blame that one on anybody. He just didn't have enough room to get down there. One thing to remember, when they have to find that balance around this circuit, it's so fast they trim out the wings. They reduce the amount of downforce. They don't have very much grip, particularly under braking. That's one of the areas where they lose it the most.
You get over on the dirty part of the racetrack, and it's hard to find grip. Let's get down to Jan Bikas, who has more on Alex Zanardi's situation.
Yes, they came in and got 4 tires, and one of the reasons is this is the Firestone Firehawk that doesn't have much of the lettering anymore. That's because this is the tire that contacted with Gilles de Ferran. You can see very heavy damage here as far as the cord. You can actually see the wheel is damaged here. He was very fortunate he did not lose pressure on this particular tire. When the team took it off, then they looked at the race car to look for damage. The preliminary indication is no damage for Alex Zanardi, but he's happy now. He has 4 fresh tires. Let's go down to Marty Reed.
Newman Haas team tells us that they're going to be able to go 18 laps and maybe even longer now with this extended yellow another time around. One of the interesting things, remember we talked about with Christian Fittipaldi and his tires, he qualified on the option tire. Well, they have the primary ready to go here, but if he continues to lead and the sun stays in, they may want to bring out those options again. One other interesting tidbit, in the last 5 races, Christian Fittipaldi has led all of 1 lap. He's got like 500% more of that right now with 5 laps led.
All right, thank you, gentlemen. There is Paul Tracy, who has gotten refired and is back on the racetrack.
He's having a tough day, and they told him to keep calm. Remember, they didn't want him because of his injuries to be making too much contact. But, you know, Paul's hard to keep down. He wants to go for it all the time.
Dr. Terry Trammell took a look at Paul's injuries, said there was no obvious swelling, and he didn't seem to be in too much discomfort, so they're letting him race, but he's under orders to avoid that sort of contact. And right now he has the racetrack to himself as he works his way around to the back of the grid. We'll be back with more of the Texaco Havoline 200 from Elkhart Lake in a moment. Back at Road America. There you see Paul Tracy in the pits. Coming up tonight on ESPN Sunday Night Baseball Game of the Week from Fenway Park in Boston at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 5 p.m. Pacific. The California Angels, behind right fielder Tim Salmon, take on the Boston Red Sox and slugger Mo Vaughn. Tonight, ESPN Sunday Night Baseball Game of the Week from Boston. Paul Tracy back on the racetrack. Let's get down to Jan Vikas.
Yes, and the interesting thing, when we were watching that pit stop, they pulled off those front tires. There's still gravel coming out from the brake area and the bearings and so on around the upright itself. So, although we saw multiple pit stops, there was still additional gravel that had worked its way out of the actual brakes. Obviously, that can cause a huge problem if you've had gravel that has made its way into the actual cooling of the brake ducts and then continues to work itself out. It can actually jam the brakes open. So Paul Tracy now, fresh tires, but way behind.
He has had 3 visits to the pits thus far. Take a look from high overhead thanks to our Honda Helicam. We're grateful for these pictures. They have been terrific all season long. Today started out rather hazy, but that haze has lifted. Although the cloud cover remains, that'll keep the track temperature down and throw another unknown into the tire equation, as if we didn't have enough. Now the field slowing, closing up in anticipation of a green this time around. But they are about halfway around the racetrack from the flag stand. Let's get down to Marty Reed.
We talked a little bit about tires. Michael Andretti radioed in, said, I think the option may be the way to go if the cloud cover remains. Bad news for Michael. Take a look at all these. They are not the options. These are the primaries. He's been running very strong on them all week long, but he does not have any mounted right now, and it looks as though Christian Fittipaldi will switch over to the primary when he comes in. So they're probably hoping right now for that sun to come back out and start blistering the track.
You ride with Michael Andretti down the backstretch, headed for Canada Corner.
I'll tell you what, though, when you got something working for you and you got a tire that's working for you, I don't like change in the middle of the race unless I've really got a problem. If I'm right up there battling, I'm right off the lead, I'm in 3rd spot, you don't want to make that change and drop yourself back to about 6th or 7th. But Michael is a proven winner, and I know he wants to get to the front, and if his teammate's running a little quicker, he probably wants to have what he has.
Father Mario gave Newman Haas their first win here back in 1983. Right now, he and teammate Christian Fittipaldi are looking good. They have Mauricio Gugelmin in between them in the Pac West car. Over the rise they come. The green flag waves, and we are underway once again. To turn 1 they go.
And it looked like Michael had a slow restart. He dropped back. Brian Herta passed him for 3rd spot. Michael's now in 4th spot.
He definitely slowed just past the pit entrance, and Herta went rocketing by.
That usually indicates that he had a gear problem, like he might have missed a gear. It just takes, they lose a little bit of that momentum, and they've gotten back up, or he had the valve dump off. He's dropping back a little bit. Seems to be okay here.
Yes, Bobby Rahal behind him. There is Rahal's camera looking ahead to Michael Andretti in 4th. Mauricio Gugelmin.
You know what's interesting? I'm sorry, Bob. What's interesting is, of course, we talked about Honda. Now Mercedes coming back. But the first 2 cars, and it was the first 3 until Michael dropped back. Now he's trying to get that spot back, looking inside Brian. They're all powered by Fords.
Brian Herta runs just ahead of Michael Andretti, with whom you ride. Jan Vikas can tell us more on his situation.
Yes, I can. You saw that move on the restart. That's because Brian Herta has more confidence for 2 reasons. One is because his teammate Bobby Rahal was able to drive alongside him during the caution and tell him there was no damage. Then the crew radioed to him, you can fix your loose condition by using the weight jacker inside the car. He jacked some weight, he has more confidence, and that helped on the restart.
Like a fighter pilot and his wingman, Bobby was able to help his young protege out. Now Michael Andretti coming right up on Herta's gearbox.
I'll tell you what, Michael lost there at the restart. Brian may have a lot of confidence right now, but Michael seems to be pushing him pretty hard in all those corners. Drop back a little bit here on the straightaway.
Now Bobby Rahal attacks. He can't get it done before the first turn.
Michael seems to be pretty slow on the straightaway.
Through turn 3. Now the run through the trees down to turn 5. Pair of victories for Michael Andretti at this track in 1990 and 91. And Bobby Rahal definitely looking for a way past.
Yeah, but Michael's blocking him. He went to the inside. I think Michael's got some kind of a problem. He just went down the inside to protect that line. You know, he didn't want to let Bobby. If Bobby's going to pass him, he said, you're going to have to go around me on the outside. That's pretty tough. That corner's only 59 miles an hour at the maximum, so.
Rahal is behind Herta. There's Jimmy Vasser watching all of this go on just ahead of him.
Jimmy's driving a pretty conservative race, but don't forget he's got Al Unser Jr. right behind him, so he can't be too aggressive. He doesn't want to make a mistake and get taken out, but he also's got to keep little Al, who's right there, just went through the corner behind him.
11 laps complete of 50 scheduled here at Road America as they flash down through the kink down to Canada Corner. So named because supposedly the first man to go off at that corner when this track was built back in the mid-1950s was from Canada. His name is lost to history, but his nationality has given the corner a name.
You see right there, that's Greg Moore, but just in front of him is Andre Ribeiro right there on your screen right now, who's gone from 18th to 8th spot. He has really taken advantage of everything that's gone up and seems like he's moving up awful fast.
The Tasman teammates really did seem lost early in the weekend. They were down at the bottom of all the timesheets. It appears that Andre Ribeiro has got the combination down, and he is on a charge.
And Bob, what we're seeing right there, we're on board with Michael Andretti, but just in front of him, who's made the pass, is Bobby Rahal. He's moved up a spot. Michael's losing ground pretty fast. Now he's got Jimmy Vasser right behind him as well. See him get sideways coming out there? He must be having trouble with those tires putting the power down.
There's Al Unser Jr. running just behind Jimmy Vasser. Michael Andretti just ahead, and he's having to work those front tires as well.
That is a tricky corner. It's almost flat out in 4th gear through there, and you got to have it exactly right.
17 points separate Jimmy Vasser from Al Unser Jr. after the events at Mid-Ohio a week ago, in which Unser Jr. went off on the last lap of the race and missed a golden opportunity to stay right in the thick of the hunt for the PPG championship. But it's nowhere near over. Just 17 points can go away very quickly.
Man, that is a pretty view there. It's such a beautiful racetrack. Such a great racetrack to climb. Now they're heading up right now. We're on board. Jimmy Vasser's going to go up 163 feet from that corner to the start finish line, which is just over this next hill.
You see the numbers on Jimmy Vasser. Presently shown in 6th spot, the highest placed Honda powered and Firestone tired car in the field. Heavy traffic now. Unser looked down the inside, thought better of it, dropped back behind Vasser. With Andretti just ahead.
Don't forget, Bob, when they make a pass, it's got to be clean. They've got championship on their mind. They cannot make a mistake and take themselves out of the race.
With just 3 races remaining, including today's Texaco Havoline 200.